Well, hello. Welcome to Wednesday Word. My name's Andy Tidy. I'm married to Helen, and each year we spend 6 months of our lives afloat on our pair of canal narrowboats selling preserves, and we spend the other 6 months back at the Aldridge parish. The title for this Wednesday Word is Shoes That Pinch, and it's really based on the sentiment behind Matthew 7 verse 12. So, in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. It's funny how odd comments early in our lives sometimes stick with us for years and years. Way back when I was pushing for my first managerial job back in the 1980s, I was moved to Grantham, and the idea was that I would go to Grantham and I would take the first managerial place available. Well, a managerial opening came along and I was passed over in favour of someone who I perceived to be a less qualified colleague. Now, I was never really given a reason for why I wasn't given that first managerial position, but I was taken to one side and said, "Andy, we really feel that you need some corners knocked off." This is over 30 years ago, and I still sometimes wonder exactly what they meant by that comment, because they didn't elaborate, and frankly I didn't have the maturity to ask. But there must have been something in it, because it stuck with me for all of these years. I don't think it was a lack of technical knowledge, but rather I suspect there were some perceived gaps in my skill set, particularly in my people skills, shortcomings which were observed in my workplace and most definitely will have been present outside in my social and in my Christian life as well. I've been a Christian for over 40 years, and right from the off I think God has been working to knock off those same rough edges. And it's strange how events in life shape and mould us. Issues crop up for no apparent reason, but if we're prepared to listen, we can often emerge from the other end better and more rounded people. Well, Andy, I hear you say that's all very well, that's a nice story from your past. What does it tell us about today? Well, if life events can present God with opportunities to shape and to mould us, what can the experience of the ongoing COVID pandemic offer us? I wouldn't pretend to say that the pandemic has been good for me, but it has forced myself and many of us into situations where we are obliged to walk in some new shoes, to walk in the shoes of others, and probably have gained an insight into a different way of life. Life's curved balls come at us, and in an unequal and sometimes seemingly unfair procession, more for some than for others. But in dealing with each of these, we've got an opportunity to grow. In some ways, the restrictions placed on our lives during the 2020 pandemic remind me of the situation I faced 5 years ago with Helen when she had breast cancer. There was the diagnosis, then there was surgery, there was chemotherapy, and there was recovery. Another year that slipped by degrees. But this time, of course, we're all in the same boat. So these times of isolation and limitations of social contact involve constraints on our life which in some way mirror the lives of the old or the sick. We're all going to grow older, and we're probably going to get sicker, and in doing so our lives will shrink. So maybe lockdown gives us all an insight into the lives of the old and the infirm among our congregation and the wider community. You'd have to be an extreme Pollyanna character to see the current situation as a blessing. But if we do take a moment or two to reflect, it may highlight the everyday needs of the community around us and give us cause to pause and consider what else we can do to help those around us. So if we return back to the key Bible verse that I wanted to highlight, Matthew 7 verse 12. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. Have a good week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.